Well, this video is about my cell phone collection. Over the past 2 or 3 years, I started collecting cell phones. This is the first phone I got. This is a Motorola Microtac 650E. This phone does work. It does turn on and get a signal. Let's turn it on. And it says we're getting no signal. Oh, there we go. We're roaming. Welcome back, my friends, to the second part of the Tektronix CMD80 Digital Radio Communication Tester video series. Today in this video we are going to demonstrate this thing with all of my analog cell phones. I have lined up here my 3 Motorola bag phones, the Motorola Profile 300E, and down there charging its battery is the Motorola Microtac 650E. Now, before I begin, I want to just give a couple of details of this thing that I missed in the last video. Very interesting, this thing actually has a hard drive in it, a mechanical hard drive. It's a 2.5-inch IDE hard drive, just like that you would find in a laptop. It's a 2 GB IBM TravelStar hard drive. And from what I can tell, that hard drive stores the operating software that this thing requires in order to function. This worries me because if that hard drive ever goes bad, it would possibly render this thing unusable, and God knows if I would ever find the software required to make this thing usable again to put back on the new hard drive. Now, I'd like to remove the hard drive and put it in my external enclosure so I can transfer, just make a disk image of the hard drive, so in case it ever does go bad I can load the software onto the new hard drive. However, I can't get the hard drive out of this. In order to do it, I have to remove the option card that the hard drive is on, and I cannot figure out how to remove the option cards in this thing. I've tried it. It seems to me like I could do it, but it just requires a lot of force, and I don't want to risk using that force and accidentally breaking something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a 2.5-inch IDE hard drive cable, because I can reach the connector on the hard drive, and I can attach a cable to it and then attach the cable to my hard drive enclosure, hopefully. So yeah, hopefully I can do that and back up the hard drive just in case anything ever happens. So for the sake of this video, I'm just going to leave the machine sitting here. We don't need to get to the back of it, and it's really heavy to move, so I'm just going to leave it here. I think I'll leave it here for the third part of this video series too. This thing is just so heavy to move, and I'd just rather keep it here. So without further ado, let's power this thing on. So I've got it plugged in. What I'm going to do here is turn the power supply switch on, like that, and the standby LED comes on. Now, I've left the fans at the side unplugged because they're really loud. Maybe at the end of this video I'll plug them in just so you can hear what it sounds like. And now, the power button. There it is. I'll let you read that. You might be able to hear the hard drive. It says approximately 50 seconds required. Yeah, that's really about 2 minutes. But yeah, you can hear the hard drive going when it loads the software. Very nice display. I can adjust the contrast here. Like that. Now, something else that's interesting, you might have heard this thing make a beep when I turned it on, kind of like a BIOS post beep on a computer. I'll let you read this stuff here. I think this thing might possibly be based on PC hardware, like a 386 or 486 base PC, because when this thing first turns on, I don't think I caught it on the camera, but just for a split second at the top it says Award BIOS. So I'm thinking maybe this is actually just a PC in disguise based on a regular IBM compatible processor and an Award BIOS. Here's the option list. Every single box is ticked. This thing has all the options installed. The ones we're concerned with here, it has the options for the analog system, option for TDMA, it has the US cellular option, and it has PCS. And what's also included with the analog and the TDMA options are international standards such as TAX and the standards used in Korea and Japan and around there. And now we're all started up. Here is the main screen. And wow, this is really hard on my arm because this thing's high up. But this is what the interface looks like. And we'll use some of these features here today. Yes. Now, when choosing the cellular network that you want to run on, as you can see, I have it set to US Cellular. If I press network and use the rotary control, we can make that Japan Cellular, China Cellular, US PCS, Korea PCS, Korea 2 PCS. So we choose US Cellular, and for the system, we just have to press system over and over. It can be CDMA, TDMA, or analog. We'll go to analog here, and for the analog we can choose either AMPS, the analog mobile phone system. Actually it was called the advanced mobile phone system, although I suppose many people call the A analog now. Or we can choose narrowband AMPS, which was introduced I think around the mid-1990s. We're going to choose AMPS. We can choose either, it would work with all the phones. And yeah, that's really all we need to do. Now, we need an antenna hooked into this thing in order to broadcast our signal. So I'm going to take this cap off here. We're going to use the standard RF in-out connector. I forget what this jack is called, unfortunately. It's not a BNC jack, it has a screw thread on it. But I have my antenna in here. I use this adapter, which is the wrong type I bought on eBay. I thought that was supposed to be an FME connector, but it's not. Or maybe it is, and it turns out the newer Motorola bag phones use an FME connector, the older ones don't. I don't know. I do know they use a different connector. But I'm going to screw that in there. And my antenna is a 3-inch piece of wire. Hey, it does the job. It does it quite well, actually. So I'm just going to take my antenna here and just stick it right in there. And there is our antenna. Now, before we move on, oh man, that's hard on the arms. This thing's like 5 feet up, 5.5 feet up after all. I think I'll start out with the Motorola 2900, so we'll move the other ones away for now. And this already has the battery in it, all charged up and ready to go. So let's turn it on. There it is. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the battery adapter that came with the other bag phone, the power pack, because what that'll allow me to do is use the battery, and but the phone won't go into standby mode. The phone will act like it's running straight from the cigarette lighter, so that way we can keep a continuous look on the display without having to keep pressing buttons. Alright, it was a tight fit, but I got the battery adapter in there, so let's turn it on. I don't know how long the battery will last in this configuration, but hopefully long enough for this video. So, we're not going to get a signal right now because the machine is not actually generating a signal yet. We haven't told it to begin yet. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to press manual test. And there, the machine is now generating a signal. And if we look at the phone, there already. Look at that. For the first time in years and years and years, this phone is now generating, or not generating, this phone is receiving an analog cellular signal. You can see we have the roam indicator lit up there, and full signal bars, and that is pretty darn beautiful. Now if we look at the machine, at first, when I first went to the display, you saw it said MS unregistered. Now it says MS registered. MS means mobile station, that's the phone. And registered means the machine has spoken with the phone, and the phone gave the machine all its data, the phone number and everything. And when it says registered, that means it's ready to go, ready to make and receive calls. So there's our standby power there. I'm not sure what that means, but the access power means how strong of a signal the machine is receiving from the phone. There's the phone number that I have programmed into the phone, and the power class, which is 1. Power class tells the machine how powerful of a phone it is. Power class 1 is 3 watts. If I had the phone put into the battery save mode, so it limits it to 0.6 watts, the phone will actually disguise itself as a power class 3, which is 0.6 watts. And there's our system we're running on. And this information here, this is how much power the machine is outputting maximum, negative 67 dBm, which is approximately, I think like 100th or a 1000th of a watt. And System A, there's A and B systems. This thing only emulates a System A. And the control channel, which I believe is locked at channel 333. It says call type analog or digital. I'm not sure why it allows you to go to digital, because that means it's TDMA and not AMPS. And yeah, now if we press analog base station, that's what the BS means, base station signal config, we can adjust how this thing controls the signal that it's outputting. We can choose the voice channel, which is the channel that the actual calls are held on. The SAT color code, which was basically a way of, like if you had 2 adjacent cellular towers and that ran on the same frequency, they would have different color codes, which are really high frequency audio tones, so the phone could tell which tower it was running on. SAT peak deviation, not really sure. There's these deviation settings that deviate by a specific frequency, not really sure how that works. And our control MAC and voice MAC. MAC stands for, I did remember all this stuff, but I forget now, but I guess it doesn't really matter. But what these adjust is how it works is the machine tells the phone how high of a power level to transmit at, and you can set that with these controls. 7, which is the lowest power level, so the machine will tell the phone to broadcast at its lowest power level. If I were to set these to 0, which are the lowest power level, the machine will tell the phone to broadcast at the full 3 watts of power. And I will get cancer. And this is the power level that the machine transmits at. Now this is really cool. Now I can turn this down with the rotary knob, and watch what happens on the phone. I'm going to aim at the phone now, and watch what happens as I turn down the power level. You can see as I turn the power level down, the signal meter on the phone goes down. And if I get down low enough, the phone will actually go out of service. There. It says no service. Now I'll turn it back up. And there, we're back in service. This is a really cool way of emulating, you know, a tower which you're getting poor reception from, so you can kind of test how well the phone tolerates a weak signal. So I'll just leave it at the maximum there, and yeah, I guess that's all there is to show here. So we'll press menu up to get back to where we were. Now we can call the phone, and we have 2 options here. We have voice loopback, or just the regular mobile station testing. What voice loopback does is it calls the phone, and once the phone is connected, it's in a voice loopback mode. So when I speak into the phone, what I say into the phone will be rebroadcasted to the phone in a second or so. So that's really nice, because it tests both the microphone and the earpiece of the phone simultaneously. I won't do that yet. What I'm going to do is just the standard mobile test, which once the phone's connected, the machine doesn't broadcast any sound, it's just silent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press call to mobile, and you'll see that phone ring for the first time in probably at least 10 years. Who knows when this phone was last in use. So I'm going to press the button, and there we go. It is ringing. I can pick it up, and there's the in-use indicator. and the call is now in progress. For the first time in at least, how long have I had this? I've had this thing for 8 years. Probably it's been at least 15 years since this phone was actually connected in a call to a cellular tower, and now it is. So if we look at the machine here, it says call established, and we get a bunch of technical data here. We have our carrier power, and what the machine expects the carrier power to be, which is not going to be correct because I'm using an antenna here. Normally with this machine you would just have it directly connected to the phone. Hence the very low power output of like 1/1000th of a watt or something like that. That's the radio frequency we're on. And here, this is how far the phone is deviating from the expected frequency, so that's a good way of checking out how healthy the radio transmitter is, if it's staying on the same frequency, which this one seems to be very well. Dialed number, well, I called from the machine and not the phone, so there is no dialed number. And then on this side we have the base station signal data. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the phone in hands-free mode. There, now it's in hands-free mode, so all the audio is going to come out the loudspeaker. And just as proof here, we can go recall pound. That's the phone number. There. That's how long the call's been in progress. Oops. There's the cumulative timer, which, oh yeah, I think I accidentally reset the cumulative timer on this transceiver, so it's not real anymore, but that's how many minutes I've put on it since resetting it, since I got the machine, which is quite a bit. But you'll see that go up as we go along here. So what I can do is, let's see, forget what's in here. Yeah, there's our carrier power. How strong of a signal it's receiving from the phone. Now we're broadcasting, or the phone is broadcasting at the lowest frequency. If I up that, let's say I go to voice MAC 6, which is one level up. There. And there you see it went up. Now let me go, let me get a really huge jump. Let me go to voice MAC 2, which will be like 1.5 watts or something like that. And there you see a big jump. And I'm getting cancer even faster. So we'll just keep broadcasting at the lowest power level. That's all we need. So we'll go back here. And what I can do is I can go into receiver quality. And there's a bunch of tests I can perform here. All of these tests, except for one, requires the phone to be directly coupled to the machine, the earpiece and the microphone, which I can't do. But what we can do is we can go audio frequency response here, and what that's going to do is send a bunch of audio tones into the phone. So I press that. Oh, let me turn that up. This has to be up. There. And it just continually sends tones to the phone over and over. See, there's a lot of higher pitch tones after that, but the loudspeaker's cutting them off. These Motorola bag phones have a built-in high-pass filter, or no, low-pass filter. Passes the low frequencies, but cuts off the higher ones. Now, if I go back to the regular earpiece, turn the volume up the whole way. You can see it lets all the tones through. Well, I think that's all the show right now. So what we can do is, there's two options for ending the call on the machine. You can do a force ST. What that means is the machine sends a command to the phone to end the call. So the machine tells the phone to end the call, and then the phone ends the call. Or we can just do release call, in which the machine itself ends the call. So that's what we'll do. So we'll hang up. And the call is ended. So, I don't know about you guys, but I think that is pretty darn awesome. Certainly the most fun I've ever had with these vintage phones. Now, the fun doesn't end there. We can call the machine from the phone. So I can dial any arbitrary number here and press send, and there it connected. And if we look at the machine, there's the number I dialed. Now, another thing we can do is the voice loopback. So let's call the phone. And we're connected. Oh, you can hear my voice. Hello. Hello. And also, everything I say comes out the speaker on the machine too. Hello, 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 hello. You might be able to hear my voice on there. And yeah, when I speak into the phone, it's put back out through the earpiece. Hello. 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 Testing, testing. Yeah, it works pretty good. And it taught me that these regular Motorola bag phones don't actually require an external microphone to use hands-free mode. The built-in microphone actually serves as that. Back in the day, if you had one of these and you wanted to use it in hands-free mode, you could right out of the box. You didn't need a regular external microphone, which I thought you did. Now, something else you can do is, while you're actually in a call, you can change the configuration of the call, and that's what's called a handoff. And this is good for simulating if during a call your phone had to switch to a different tower that used a different cellular standard. Take that off so it doesn't keep echoing my voice. But yeah, let's say I was using this thing and I'm connected to an AMPS tower, and all of a sudden I had to switch to a narrowband AMPS tower. So I can choose that, and I can press execute, and the phone made a static noise, and the machine's in the process of transitioning, and it's taken quite a long time, not sure why. Oh, there it goes. And the call stayed in progress. It didn't drop out due to the transition, and we are now in narrowband amps. And the phone successfully made the transition as well. And another thing we can do is, if we go to handoffs and transitions, oh, it already switched back into the manual test mode, but if I wanted to, I can go into the voice loopback mode as well, and I can switch between them using the handoff. So let me go back to AMPS, execute, and we made it. And so did the phone. So yeah, that is pretty darn cool. And oh, why are we on voice MAC2? That's draining my battery. Go back to 7 there. And yeah, I guess it changed our power settings for some reason. But yeah, that's it. So now I'll do a force. Actually, I'll do it from the phone. I don't think I've done it from the phone yet. So we'll end the call. And the machine goes back into the registered mode. Alright, I think that's all I'll do for the 2900. Now let's switch to the 1995 Motorola Power Pack bag phone. Alright, on to the Motorola Power Pack bag phone. I'm too lazy to make it presentable by properly installing the battery. But let's turn it on. Now, I'm going to make sure that we're not in the power save mode. Extended time off. Okay, and there, we're getting a signal. For some reason this particular phone likes to switch, it likes to go back and forth with the signal meter, not sure why. But there we go, and we will call the phone. So that's what the older ringtone sounds like, so we'll answer. And we are running. Now, I don't know if it's going to show up on the video itself, but right before this phone started ringing, this camera glitched out. The screen actually garbled up for a second there, I assume due to the phone beginning to transmit. So, I don't know, hopefully that didn't conk out any of my video. But yeah, the call is now in progress on that. And something I'll show here, we'll go back into the audio frequency response. And I'll turn the volume up a bit. What I'll do is I'll begin, while it's doing that, I can actually adjust the power output of the machine. So what I'll do is I'll turn it down to simulate a fading signal, and you can see how the phone reacts to that. And there, it dropped the call. So I'll bring that all the way back up. Oh, yeah, and there the base station went back. Yeah, why is it? Keeps putting the control MACs down. I don't know why. One more thing I can show now, because this is a bag phone, it's power class 1. What I can do is I can put it into the power save mode. And now, I think I actually have to restart the phone to do that, so I'll turn it off and back on. And once the machine re-registers the phone, I'll exit out of the machine. Ah, yeah, there it goes, unregistered. And registered, and there, now it's a power class 3. So the machine thinks it's dealing with a 0.6 watt phone, and the power MACs, 0 through 7, they will be adjusted accordingly. So, there is the power pack. And now, last but not least, the Motorola America Series 820 bag phone from 1991, plugged into the battery pack. Or it's not really a pack, it's just one battery. Let's turn it on. Alrighty. And we will begin transmission. Running. And phone has registered. Yep, there it is. There's the phone number that the phone was on, power class 1. And yeah, that's it. Now this phone doesn't have a signal meter on it, but that's okay. And by the way, I don't think I've ever mentioned yet, but thanks to the guys on a new forum that I'm on. Well, I'm hardly on there at all, but it's called mobilecollectors.net. It's a forum for people who collect vintage cell phones. Someone actually uploaded the manual for the Motorola Dynatac 4500L, which is the phone that this phone was actually based on. You may remember I liken this phone to be kind of similar to the Motorola 4500X, which was sold in Europe. Well, it turns out this phone is actually exactly the same as the Dynatac 4500L, which was sold here in North America. Same phone with a different brand name. And someone uploaded the manual for that phone, and I read through it, and indeed this does not have a battery meter or a function, a feature menu or anything like that. It's a very basic phone. So, we're running here, so let's call the phone. And we are running. There's all our stats there. This phone's not quite as good for keeping on frequency as the newer bag phone is, but that's okay. Uh-oh. What happened? Oh, that doesn't help. It kept my really low signal level there. Yeah, the phone cut off. See, when I went into the audio frequency response mode, it still had my settings stored for when I had the signal strength turned way down. So this phone couldn't handle it. It cut off. Whoopsie. Let's see if we can get it back. Alright, let's try that again. Uh-oh. Didn't mean to do that. Turned it up when I thought I was turning it down. Let's do... transmission time. Or call time, I should say. I'm using radio terminology on a phone. I guess it's close enough with phones like these. Yes, sir. Now, if we go into the voice loop back. Hello? Hello? Yeah, see, this phone you do have to use an external microphone. You can't use the built-in microphone for hands-free. Hello? 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 So yeah, that works. And I'll do a regular hang-up here and it ends the call. So there's that. Now, let's say the machine tries to call the phone, but the signal is way too weak. Motorola bag phones are able to tell when they're receiving a call, but the signal's too weak for the call to be able to, you know, carry on with any useful amount of signal. So if it receives a call, but the signal is too weak to take on the call reliably, the phone will alert you to this. See, it does that, and we actually went out of service there, but the phone will ring like that, and it won't let you answer. It's just to let you know that it's receiving a call, but the signal's too weak to receive it reliably. Well, we went out of signal there, and there it stopped. When the phone doesn't answer, the machine will keep calling for about 30 seconds or so. Now likewise, on Motorola bag phones, you can screen calls, and to activate that, on this particular phone, it's Control 03 pound. I think that's it. If I activated it, when I turn the phone on, it'll let me know by beeping. And that indicator comes up there, so yes, call screening is activated. And how that works is whenever it receives a call, it'll just do the beeping like it does when the signal's too weak. So that's all it does, and it'll do that for as long as the machine tries to call the phone. Anyway. Oh yes, I guess. No, you can't end it. To turn call screening off, Control 03 end. Control 03 end. And now it's off. Alright, now for the Motorola MicroTac 650E. Let's turn it on. And it's got the signal already, and it's registered. And this phone comes up as a Power Class 3. It's a 0.6 watt phone. And likewise, let's call it. So nice to see these get a signal now. This phone's kind of finicky sometimes when it comes to actually receiving a call. It'll make calls fine, but it doesn't like to receive them. Yeah, the machine gave up. What are we on? We're on amps. Let's try narrowband amps. Go to amps, manual test. Okay. Wait for it to register. There it is, registered. Now let's try calling. There it goes. And there, we are in a call. I can do the same thing here. And end the call. And of course I can call the machine. Oh. Yeah, see this phone and the machine don't get along well. I can press send to try redialing. Now the phone's gonna try and redial until the machine picks up. Oh, that means that the machine picked up. The phone's letting you know. Just rings once. And yeah. So there you go. Go to carrier power here. There's the power level of the phone, or how strong the signal the machine's receiving. If I go to the maximum power mode here, 0, level 0. There you go, see it goes way up. I wonder what the phone's power class is if it's in power save mode. Because power class 3, that's with extended talk off. So now let's turn extended talk on. Now let's see what it classifies as. You can hear a bunch of relays clicking inside this machine anytime you do something. Interesting, it's still a Power Class 3. Maybe how that works is if the machine asks the phone for, you know, like Power Class 0 or 1, the phone just refuses to enter it. Maybe that's how it works. I think. Maybe you have to... Oh, I bet you have to repower the phone. Like I had to do with the bag phone. Yeah, so let me shut the phone off. And bring the machine back into the home screen, turn the phone back on, and put the machine back online. Still Power Class 3. I guess there's some other trick involved to doing that. But anyway, there's with the Motorola MicroTac 650E. I won't bother doing the profile since that's just the exact same phone in a different form factor. However, I will do something different now. I'll rig up my one and only TDMA phone so you can see how TDMA works with this machine. Here's a phone you guys have only seen like once. It's the Ericsson DH618 from 1998. This is a TDMA phone. Until recently I've never been able to power this thing on because I don't have the AC adapter for it. But I recently found that like the battery on this thing, the original battery, is 4.8 volts. And I found out, you know, it's only got 2 contacts, really simple setup, and a 6-volt lantern battery powers this phone beautifully. So I have such a battery right here. So what I'm going to do is, it's a very fragile setup that's easy for the Easy for my alligator clips to slip off those contacts there, but if I'm careful enough, I can rig this phone to that battery, and we can power this phone on and try it out. Alright, I got the phone wired to this battery. Barely. Let's see if I can turn it on. Ah, there it goes. So you guys are seeing this phone power on for the first time, and it'll say no service. Alright, now we go to the test set, and we are going to go to TDMA. Alright, and press manual test. And if we look at the phone, should register, yep, there it goes. Oh, went into analog mode. Should go into digital mode. There's our signal meter. It's registered. Ah, there it goes, digital. And now we can call. And that phone has the most shrill, unpleasant ringtone I've ever heard. And it's on the quietest volume setting. God, I hate that. Anyway, the call's in progress. In TDMA mode, this thing doesn't have all the same types of tests that the analog mode has. It doesn't have the audio frequency test. You just heard the phone emit a series of beeps there. What the test set did was it sent some digital data to the phone. But of course it can't complete the test because the phone's supposed to be coupled to the machine. So let's go back out of that. But what I can do is, we can test a handoff to an analog system. So we can execute the test, and now the phone is going to switch to analog, which it just did during the call. So that was successful. And now we can do the frequency response. So there's that. So yeah, this phone works pretty good in both analog and TDMA. We'll hand off back to TDMA. And it did. So, there is that phone. Now I do have one more phone to show you that I forgot about. It's this right here. My Nokia 252. I bought this at a yard sale years ago. And this works with, you know, any old Nokia AC adapter that Nokia used to use on all their phones for years and years and years. But the problem is with this particular phone, the battery has to have a charge for the phone to power on, even on an AC adapter. And the battery that this phone came with is completely, absolutely dead. So I cannot power this phone on normally. However, I did find out that, like this phone, I can hook this phone up to the lantern battery there, and it will work just fine. So let me set that up and do that now. Alright, this phone's hooked up. It's quite easy. You just have you have 4 pins, but each end of the battery connects to both pins at once. And that's how the positive and negative, that's where they go. So we'll turn the phone on. When I was able to rig this up to the lantern battery, it was the first time I was ever able to power this phone on and use it. So we have no service, so we go to the machine, we're going to go to analog, and go. There, it's registered. So, we'll call the phone. There it is. Answer. And the call is now in progress. So there is that. Oh, that's weird. A four-stop transmission doesn't work on this that phone. So I'll just do that. That's the power class. And there you go. The Nokia 252. And that concludes, yeah, that's all of my analog phones and my one TDMA phone running on the Tektronix CMD80 digital radio communication tester. So yeah, this thing is really fun to use, especially with my analog Motorola phones. So I hope you guys enjoyed and found this interesting. So next time, for the third video, I'll show the other extraneous features this thing has, like those jacks down there, and the other test mode, which is called the module test. And I'll show it running with those side fans there connected, so you can hear what that sounds like. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I will see you guys next time. Oh, something I just thought of post-filming. I'm currently transferring the video I just filmed. But the reason you didn't see me test this thing with any of my newer phones, my CDMA phones, even though this thing's perfectly capable of that, is because for some reason, I guess because we have an actual CDMA cellular tower running here that all my CDMA phones can pick up, whenever I try to connect my phones to this, they don't connect to it. They'll just connect to the real CDMA tower outside instead. So yeah, I can't actually get my CDMA phones to connect to this. I imagine if I had a proper way of directly connecting them to this thing, then it would work, but I don't. And same thing if I try to put those phones into analog mode and switch this thing to analog mode and connect them using the analog system, they won't do it, even although they perfectly should. I know my Samsung phones, one Samsung I have, and then my actual cell phone which I actually use, when I put them into analog mode, you know, it's an analog force mode. They won't connect to a CDMA tower, they'll just keep looking for an analog tower. Well, even then, when I do that and I put this thing into analog mode, the phones won't connect to it. I don't know why. They won't register a signal or anything, so yeah, I can't really get my CDMA phones to work with this, but oh well.